No justice. 40 years. No justice has been done. How awful is that?
There is still no justice given to us. Terrorism is number one enemy of the humanity, not one country, not one segment, not one group.
She's an ex-Air India air hostess. She was on standby for the Kanishka flight in London.
London.
So she's very lucky to be alive.
उनके लिए कोई भी जस्टिस नहीं हो पाया. बिना जस्टिस श्रद्धांजलि जो है वो अधूरी ही है.
There were 268 Canadians. They were all Canadian citizens. They waited for the justice. They waited for a long period of time.
Until there is justice, until there is no more denial of justice from Canadians, until there is an eradication of terror, not only beyond our borders, but right here in Canada, justice could never be served.
June 1985, the darkest day, the blackest day in Canadian history, when Air India Flight 182, Kanishka air bombing happened, in which 331 innocent families, they lost their lives, 331 victims. So today, across Canada, the communities, the Israeli community, the Jewish community, the Hindus, the Sikhs, the Muslim, everybody, they gathered here to pay the tributes to all those victims. 331 lives lost. So there is no place of terrorism on Canadian soil. So these people, they are asking for justice because 40 years they think that justice has not served for them. This is the blackest day. Let's see what these people has to say and when they are paying tributes to the victims.
As a member of the Jewish community, I am here to pay tribute and commemorate the tragedy of the Air India crash in which hundreds of people were murdered, and the inaction, inattention, and neglect must stop. We must be here. We must walk the talk.
Air India flight IC 812 ਤੇ 40ਵੀਂ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਨੀਵਰਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਭੇਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਸਟੇਟ ਮੈਮੋਰੀਅਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 40 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਸਟਿਲ ਡਿਲੇਡ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਸਟਿਲ ਡਿਨਾਈਡ ਟੈਰਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਐਕਸਟ੍ਰੀਮਿਜ਼ਮ ਆ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਖਸ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਗੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ The time has come now for Canadian politicians, Canadian policymakers to really stop this kind of nonsense activities ताकि Canadians of present and future they can keep their lives secure. ਅਸੀਂ ਨਤਮਸਤਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ 331 ਲਾਈਵਸ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਭੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ 23 ਜੂਨ 1985 ਨੂੰ ਕਨਿਸ਼ਕਾ 에ਅਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕ੍ਰੈਸ਼ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਬੰਬਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਨ ਗਵਾਈ. May their souls rest in peace.
Namaskar, it's a sad day and we are all here assembled here to remember
the lives lost in the Air India plane crash. 331 lives were lost, and it's really sad. It's been 40 years and there are people who are still waiting for justice to them. May God grant peace to all those souls and strength to all those families जिनको इतने साल हो गए इतना झेलते हुए.
Namaste, my name is Ruchi Valli. I am on the board for Canadian National Council of Hindus. I'm here to mourn for the Air India tragedy that happened 40 years ago. I feel for the victims because they were not, served any justice. In spite of 2 inquiries that happened, the perpetrators, they just walked free. And the unfortunate thing is that they are still celebrated in Canada, which is not right, and that has to change. I am myself, I'm a Kashmiri Hindu, so I've been a victim of terrorism myself. So I understand how the families must feel like even after 40 years when there's no consequence of blowing up an airplane, and the perpetrators, like I said, they are celebrated. So that has to change, and that is why I'm here to stand shoulder to shoulder with the victim families and change what happened 40 years ago. Maybe it will change from now, but we have to just keep working on it, and that's why I'm here.
So if you see that now even all those MPs and councillors and senators are voicing up. Why they are voicing up? Because community is coming out strong. They can see the community's anger. They can see they are all standing together. They see they are all voicing it up. So obviously, Minister really like to see that, oh, this is a voice we need to bring at Ottawa. And I'm totally confident that one day in Ottawa, they will raise it loud and clear. This terrorism, this extremists, this Khalistani thing, all these things is not at all acceptable in Canadian society. And this needs to be condemned and needs to take necessary action for that. Thank you.
My heart goes to the families, victim families and victims. आज हम यहाँ पे जो 40वीं जो बरसी जो है, जितने जो 331 जो I will say कि most of them Canadian families जो थी, उनको यहाँ पे आप याद कर रहे हैं. और ये जो उन्होंने अपनी जो जान है कोई नेचुरली नहीं गवाई, because they were attacked, they were murdered. And who murdered them? The Khalistani ideologist, the Khalistani terrorist. We love and peace and harmony. And I'm urging all Canadians, all Canadian politicians, जितने भी चाहे किसी भी पार्टी से belong करते हो, let's denounce the terrorist. It can be any terrorist by anybody, but especially the Khalistani terrorist. जो आज यहाँ पे भी जो सिर उठा रहे हैं और हमारे जो बीच जो प्यार प्रेम से जो हम रहते थे, हमारे बीच एक गैप जो है वो क्रिएट करने की ट्राई कर रहे हैं. चाहे रोड है, आपने देखा है नगर कीर्तन के नाम पे वो कितनी घिनौनी हरकत करते हैं रोड के ऊपर. जो नगर कीर्तन होता है वो गुरु की जो प्रीचिंग्स हैं उनको स्प्रेड करने के लिए होता है, न कि खालिस्तानियों को अपनी ताकत दिखाने का. तो जितनी भी गवर्नमेंट्स हैं यहाँ पे, चाहे वो म्यूनिसिपल गवर्नमेंट है, चाहे वो प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट है, चाहे फेडरल गवर्नमेंट है, ऐसे इवेंट परमिटेड नहीं होने चाहिए. कभी भी ऐसे इवेंट परमिटेड नहीं होने चाहिए. और हम सब ने मिल के ये जिम्मेवारी निभानी पड़ेगी, चाहे हम किसी भी रिलीजन से बिलोंग करते हैं, चाहे हम सिख हैं, हिंदू हैं, मुस्लिम हैं, ईसाई हैं, जो मर्जी हैं. बट वी आर Ontarians. We are Canadians, and being Canadians, let we take this responsibility, and down the road, let's work united, work hard, and denounce those elements and eradicate them from the society. So again, my heart goes to the victims and their family, and I have no word to express my sorrow to my fellow Canadians and all the victims of Air India bombing by Khalistani. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Lanceman. I'm the Member of Parliament for Thornhill and Deputy Leader of Canada's Conservatives, and I'm here with my friend Anna Roberts, the MP from King Vaughan, and Kostas Menegakis, the MP for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. We're here to commemorate the 40-year anniversary of the downing, the terrorist attack of the Air India bombing on 331 innocent lives, 268 of which were Canadian, 8 children, in the senseless violence for those victims who still have not gotten justice. And I want everybody watching to know that you have voices in Parliament who will stand against terror in all of its forms. Here on Canadian soil, whether it's protesting in masks in communities, intimidating Canadians by the terrorism and the terrorist ideologies that still exist, those who intimidate us in our communities, those who are unchecked in their terror, we will make sure to stand up to this government who has allowed this to flourish in Canada. You will always have voices in Parliament with the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre.
I'm Sanjeev and she's Anjali, my wife. She's an ex-Air India air hostess. She was on standby for the Kanishka flight in London. So she's very lucky to be alive, and we have very mixed feelings. It's good that we are remembering this event. At the same time, we are very sad about those people who were killed.
You know, I was a crew member, and most of those 22 people I know, I've flown with them. And so, you know, tomorrow, 40 years is sort of beyond description. What can I say? And you know, I mean, somehow Air India is not having a good time. Just few days ago, we had another crash in Ahmedabad going to London. So these crew members were really, I mean, I feel bad for those 2 baggage handlers at Narita airport, as well as passengers. And the worst part is no justice. 40 years, no justice has been done. How awful is that? Yeah, great. We have got the memorial. We have got memorial in all the places, also at in Ireland. But what we require is, and you know, some of those people have passed away. I feel for the families. And talking about one crew member, I mean, I know their personal stories. There is a person called Rita in there. She had fallen pregnant and she wanted to keep it a secret because after this flight, she was to go back to Mumbai. Mumbai was the base. And next flight, she was going to meet her husband in New York. And then she wanted to pass on the good news to him that, look, we are going to have our first child. She couldn't do that. There is another batchmate of mine. We started in Air India together, Sharon. All their drive, they were innocent people, passengers, kids, baggage handlers, crew members, not their fault. They were doing their duty. Passengers were going home. I know I've done these flights, and local Indian community was so happy because Air India started not only Toronto, but also Montreal. So they were, you know, we used to hear, great, you guys are doing wonderful. And I was one of the initial crew members, and I remember our flights used to be full. Everyone used to be so happy going home to meet their family, and you know, all dreams got shattered. More and more awareness should be given, but at the same time, we need justice.
I think the pressure has to be put on local law enforcement.
Exactly. Great. Memorials are fantastic.
Most of the people who died are Canadians.
And nothing has been done.
We have some people sitting here whose neighbors have died. You know?
We crew members, past and present Air India crew members, just a few days ago, we signed a petition for our Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying that let us create another memorial, maybe near Mumbai airport, for this. But no, you know, Canadian government has to do something.
This is the family of Mr. Shyam Sharma and wife and the children. They were the closest family friends when we came to Canada. They picked us up from the airport. They welcomed to their house. We stayed at their house until we were on our 2 feet. And we continued being the best of the friends here to the point that we took them to the airport. So this is the relation from the airport to the airport. They were the nicest people we knew, very simple, very religious, very down to earth, highly educated but still down to earth, and we would miss them forever. We are very sad about it that there is still no justice given to us. There is no closure. It appears that the government is treating this as a sort of an Indian tragedy while it is a Canadian tragedy. The terrorism is number one enemy of the humanity, not one country, not one segment, not one group. And we are sorry to say that it is still finding its place in Canada, and government is not as serious as we would like them to be, and we request them to look at a hard look at what had happened so that it does not happen again, and also root out the terrorism from our country at least, if not from the entire earth. This is not an Indian tragedy. This is a tragedy for all of Canada. This is the biggest mass murder which happened on Canadian soil, and the Canadian government, with all their other departments, law enforcement agencies and what have you, need to revisit everything which has happened and still bring to justice the people who were responsible for it, and enforce the laws so that it does not happen again.
Of course. I mean, we've been standing with the Indian community for a few years. We only started after October 7th. And we realized that the Jewish community didn't really have organizations that were working with allyships and other communities that share the same moral background and values that we shared, and it didn't make sense to me. And so when we started the organization, we thought, we can't be friends with everybody at once. Let's build a friendship with some communities. We thought the Indian community has to be one of them. The Indian community have a very similar history to Israel, at least starting from the 40s when Pakistan was, that was happening. We were dealing with the Palestinians, you guys dealing with Pakistanis. So we understand each other's plight. We understand each other's fight. We understand each other's sacrifices and a lot of the suffering and pain that we've gone through. And so we started working with the Indian community quite a while now. It's been almost 2 years. And last year we helped with the commemoration of Air India. When I was a kid, I was just telling my friend, I remember when it happened, I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and it just didn't make any sense. I'm like, oh my God, everybody just passed away on this plane. And then learning that it was an intentional act of terrorism, that stuck with me for a very long time. So, we wanted to be able to contribute, bring some Jewish voices as well here to stand with our Indian friends. This is the worst terror attack in Canadian history, ever. How could it not be taught in our schools? This is something that should be used to remind people, number one, of the threats that our country faces. These are Canadian citizens. They're Canadians who died. It's shocking, and it's also kind of not surprising that it hasn't been introduced into our school systems. The TDSB, for example, has failed not only your community, but the Jewish community countless times. So am I surprised that they don't want to talk about anything that would go against their agenda? No. Is it wrong? Absolutely. This is one of the things that I know your community's been fighting Hindu phobia for quite a while. It's like the silent racism in our country. We were just talking about how the Indian community has suffered great many ways, and nobody talks about it. It's not even important enough to bring into coverage on the news. This is something that needs to change in our country, but I think absolutely it starts with education. People need to understand this is what happened. The Khalistani terrorists blew up an Air India flight with Canadian citizens. It's a matter of fact. They don't need to educate people to hate this person or that person, but these are facts, and they need to be introduced to our system. So at least Canadians know. Most people don't even know that this happened. I was a child when it happened. No, but none of my children's friends know about Air India bombing, they know because I did the commemorations, but none of the friends even know that it happened. And this is one of the most tragic events that ever happened in Canadian history.
I'm on behalf of the Hindu Sikh Unity Forum. I'm the current chair of that body. I'm also the past chair of Panorama India. No, it's a very, very sad incident, and we all stand for peace. I think non-violence and this kind of activities which break the community, break the nations, has no place in our hearts, and nobody appreciates that in Canada. and I think we should all work for harmony, and that's why my body Hindu Sikh Unity Forum stands for that, for bringing all the communities together. There should be no differences, and if there are some differences, we should leave them back, and there has been so many apologies and regrets for that in the past governments, but the present, both the governments, India as well as Canada, they want to work in harmony and want to take the community further, and we hope all the Hindus and Sikhs in Canada should prosper and work together. I mean, involving the younger generation is to bring good values, positive values. We should not think that, okay, there are differences and that's why all this happened. So we should bring the young generation together to feel that there's a need for harmony, love and unity in the community. That's a must.
Here it's the 40th anniversary of the Air India bombing, which is the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history. And it was a great showing, large turnout, even though it's way too hot outside for anyone born in Canada. But the Jewish community was here, some people from the Iranian community was there, and of course different members of parliament. You had Anna Roberts, Kostas Menegakis, who's a great anti-terror voice and has been for years, and Melissa Lantsman, who, and I think the Conservative Party said it quite well, that it's enough with the Khalistani terror in Canada. So it's good. It's been 40 years, and for the majority of that, everyone's been too afraid to name the perpetrators of this terrorist attack. But now that is no longer the case. The taboo has been broken, and moral clarity now reigns. We can now name the Khalistani terrorists and the Babar Khalsa who did this terrorist attack, who murdered 331 people, most of them Canadians. And you don't want to be happy on days like this, but it is a good sign that they didn't even try and disrupt it. So for years, every time the community tried to do something for the victims, the terrorist perpetrators came out and would try and attack and disrupt. But they are no longer here. They are defeated. They saw that when the communities come together, when it's real grassroots, Indian Canadians, real grassroots Jewish Canadians, Christian Canadians, Iranian Canadians, there's nothing they can do. Khalistan's always been a paper tiger here on our streets, and it looks like it's been pushed aside, and I really give credit to the people, the good Canadian people who never stopped fighting, who never lost moral clarity and kept pushing on, and all the alternative media that stood with them, and everyone who came out to do it. So this is a very good sign. 40 years in, we have broken the taboo where we still have not had justice. Justice has not been served. And there are still many institutions in this country, radicalized Pakistani-backed Gurdwaras, that have pictures of Tawinder Parmar up in their spheres. But they are losing, they are being pushed back, and today was a great sign as hundreds came out to show solidarity with the victims and to push for justice. And I'm proud of everyone who came out, and I'm really proud to have and honored to have been asked to take part in the whole thing. So,
seeking guidance and enlightenment. The translation of this verse is Asatoma Sadgamaya, lead us from the unreal to the real. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, lead us from the delusion to the knowledge, or darkness to the light. Mrityurma Amritangamaya, lead us from the death to immortality. It expresses a desire to move away from the falsehood and ignorance towards the truth and knowledge, and ultimately seeks liberation from the cycle of life and death. It emphasizes the quest for spiritual growth and understanding and eternal peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om, a sound, sacred sound and spiritual symbol in Hindu culture, representing the essence of the ultimate consciousness. Shanti, the word means peace. It signifies not just the absence of conflict, but also a deep inner peace and tranquility. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. The repetition of Shanti 3 times emphasizes the wish for peace on different levels: physical, mental, and spiritual. It is chanted as a way to invoke tranquility and harmony. Let us unite for peace and harmony. Thank you.
I tell you, I feel hurt. These are the things not we have to enjoy. We have to learn from those things. that they don't happen again in the whole world anywhere for any kind of life, human life or animal life or plant life, whatever it is. We have to learn not to disturb it. In that respect, I will say one thing. I'm strictly against we have to prove first. We have to have solid proof. Look what happened. We are victimized in the open court to prove. It should be the other way around. I have talked to lawyers, I have talked to non-lawyers, I have talked to other people. Why victim is victimized in the open court? This is not the law should be. The law should be, once it has been established practically, why we have to prove it? This is my question, simply. When the whole thing has been established, how come the tapes which were in the hands of RCMP, there were certain places erased? How can it happen? Now to me that is the biggest blunder. Then people know we can get away. We get away with all these things because the law is not correct. It's not applied properly.
It was an act of terrorism that began on Canadian soil that resulted in the deaths of many hundreds of Canadians. So my wife and I are here to express our support to the community in their shared grief despite the 40 years that have gone by, and also to stand up against these sorts of vile terrorist acts, no matter where they happen. Probably, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like it's 40 years since this happened. There are other acts that still happen to this day, but this was something that was totally, planned and developed and implemented here in Canada. I don't think there is enough appreciation amongst Canadians for their collective understanding of how this was actually a Canadian tragedy, even though the majority of the people that perished were of Indo-Canadians or hyphenated, but it's a Canadian tragedy. And I don't think there is enough understanding of the significance of the Canadian nature of this tragedy.
Yes, they were our backyard neighbors. We live on a street where backyards back onto each other, and we got to know them fairly well. It was the Jalan family. So it was a mom, a dad, who were in their late 20s, early 30s, and two children. Anita was 3 years old, I believe, and a brand new baby boy, 2 months old, were all perished on the plane. It was very, very sad and very emotional, and the next few days were very sad too, because the family would gather at their home and we could see them through the grieving process also. And it just was a tremendous loss. Definitely. We've actually come here to visit it a few times when there hasn't been a commemoration, and we were very happy to place some flowers near the name of the Jalan family also. Definitely, I think it's a wonderful tribute to everybody who died. They were such innocent victims, and it's a tremendous honor and tribute to them, yes. Yeah, for 40 years it's been there. Through the winter too, yeah. They're silk flowers, so. But we were very happy to do it. But, most times when we go out in the backyard, we glance over it. Many people have come and gone in that house. Nobody knows the story. But we always remember them, even after 40 years.
ये आज इतना इकट्ठ जो हो रहा है, ये एक बहुत ही दुखदायक घटना जो हुई उसके लिए, और जब कि हम उनको श्रद्धांजलि देना चाहते हैं, लेकिन क्या ये सच्ची श्रद्धांजलि है? क्योंकि अब तक उनके लिए कोई भी जस्टिस नहीं हो पाया। बिना जस्टिस श्रद्धांजलि जो है वो अधूरी ही है। मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि हमें सबको उनके जस्टिस के लिए करना चाहिए, ताकि और भी ना लोगों ऐसी दुर्घटनाएं ना हो। इसके लिए जो सिक्योरिटी लैब्स हैं पर्टिकुलरली वो, और जिन्होंने करवाया इस चीज़ को, उसके पीछे कोई ना कोई बड़ी ताकतें होती हैं। वो ताकतें जब तक हम नहीं पहचानेंगे तब तक ऐसी घटनाएं होती रहेंगी, और हो भी रही है। ऐसा नहीं है कि अभी देखो एक अभी दुर्घटना हुई अभी अहमदाबाद में, वो क्या उसका अभी तक कोई नतीजा सामने नहीं आया कि वो दुर्घटना है या करवाई गई चीज़ है। धन्यवाद।
The terrorism is not beyond borders, it's within our borders now. It's within our homes now, our streets. It's impacting us day and night. And if we do not stand against it, then we are accomplices of it. Then we are supporting it. End of the day, all these 300 people, we can remember them every year, but nothing will be done unless we take the first step towards the positivity and say we are going to stand against it. Whether it's terrorism against Hindus, against Iranians, against Jewish. I'm involved in all three communities. Today morning, I was protecting a Jewish community in Kitchener. Now, I'm right here. In the afternoon, I'm protecting Jewish and Iranian community in downtown Toronto. People like me, we are tier 1 executives. We don't have to do these things. If the police force can do their job, they don't need us. If the community can stand together, they don't need me to stand for them. They don't need me to protect them. So let's unite our hand together and fight against this biggest enemy of the humanity, so-called terrorism. Thank you very much for listening.
Death to immortality. It expresses a deep desire to move away from the falsehood and ignorance towards the truth and knowledge, and ultimately seeks the liberation from the cycle of life and death. It emphasizes the quest for spiritual growth and understanding and eternal peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om, a sacred sound.
When we gather here, we pray for those victims who has been the victim of the deadliest terror attack in Canadian history, the most deadliest attack on the Canadian history. Let's also remember what Mansi very nicely put. There were 268 Canadians. They were all Canadian citizens. They waited for the justice. They waited for a long, long period of time. Still the justice is not served. They are still waiting for the victims to get the justice. Every year we gather here to speak, to pray for the victims. This year, while we are celebrating the 40th anniversary, let's make sure while we are praying for the victim, but we need to raise our voice. We need to secure Canada from that extremist ideology. We need to make sure we speak up against them.
I see many familiar faces here from different backgrounds, from different communities. We are here to remember the victims of the flight, and you see their names here. And they were Canadians. The previous government of Canada, Justin Trudeau, said that Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. So where is the justice? Why you let those extremists attack to Hindu temples? Another group of extremists, they attack to synagogues. IRGC extremists, they threaten Iranian Canadian lives. All of them on Canadian soil. We are here united more than ever with one simple message. Enough is enough. We don't want extremism on Canadian soil, on Canadian streets, and we are ready to act. Thank you everyone for being here.
It's really an honor to be here with all of you today to commemorate this very sad and horrific day in Canadian history. Can't imagine the horror and the terror that the 331 people endured in that flash when they lost their lives when the bomb went off in midair over the Atlantic, or how the families feel that dropped them off at the airport as they wave goodbye to them, hoping to one day again meet them at a more happy occasion, or the people that were waiting on the other end, waiting for the families to arrive, never to arrive. I think it's a testament to the will and the strength of the community that we are here today, 40 years later, gathering in friendship, in love, and in prayer to remember the souls of these lost folks, some of which were entire families, never to have had the opportunity to fulfill their dreams in their life. And unfortunately, as previous speakers have said, elements, not only Khalistani and so forth, but elements of ill will continue to exist among us. And I think it is incumbent upon all of us, including us elected members of Parliament that are here today, to do everything that we can so that Canada can continue to be what it was and to once again get to be what it was, a beacon of hope, a place where people come here for a better life. They leave their homes, leave their countries, always having a love for that country and the culture of that country, but come here for a better life, never expecting to have to endure a tragic event as happened on the 23rd of June in 1985, something that should have never happened, should have never been initiated on Canadian soil, and something that should never, ever, ever be repeated again. So I want to congratulate the organizers and thank them and thank all of you for making sure that that flame of hope for a better Canada arising from this tragedy is never, ever, ever forgotten. So thank you for the kind invitation to be here today. It is an honor and a privilege, and I'm deeply humbled to once again, because I'm also a previous member of Parliament in the Harper government, to be here amongst you. And on behalf of me and my constituents in Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, and my colleagues up here who will speak shortly, I can tell you that we understand, we are with you, and we will be your voices as often as is required to ensure that things like this horrific event never again transpire or begin anywhere near Canadian soil. Thank you all very much.
A new temple where you can go and pray in faith. So I'm very proud to be part of that. So I'm not going to reiterate what my colleague has said, but you know, in my faith, there's something I want to share with you. So if you could humor me for just 30 seconds, I'd like to share this hymn with all of you. For you always, please bring us peace, and we will be with one. Thank you.
As you have been mine. 40 years the time does not do justice when justice has been delayed or denied to all of those victims. No matter how long it is, until there is justice, until there is no more denial of justice from Canadians, until there is an eradication of terror, not only beyond our borders, but right here in Canada, justice could never be served. And we'll come together. And we will come together for as long as it takes in every day in every way until that happens. And I want you to know that you have a friend in Voices in Canadian Parliament that will always stand up for this community. There is no question that we have seen an uptick in this country of unchecked terror in communities right across the board, against Hindu temples, against synagogues, against our Persian community friends who are intimidated every single day by the IRGC agents that live here. Elements of Khalistani terror who terrorize communities and people in their neighborhoods in this country. It has been more than a year since this government has passed Bill C-70, and still today there is no foreign registry of foreign agents. And it is a shame that this government allows unchecked terror, masked protesters, gunshots into schools, firebombings into businesses to happen here. And it is a shame that we have to stand here, be it on this commemoration or any other day of the week, and call them out. But for as long as it takes, we will call them out. And I want everybody who comes here to see that we will leave this here. It is a certificate. We want to leave it on the memorial with these names to make sure that they know that there are members of Canadian Parliament who will commemorate 40 years with you, who commemorate every single day with you of all of those innocent mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, who never returned home because of a crime that happened on Canadian soil, and we will never be quiet about it. I can assure you of that. I'm the only member of Parliament who brought forward the largest petition in Canadian history on Hindu phobia, and I will make sure that the government answers for the unchecked terror that they have allowed in this country against your community, against my community, against every community that's affected.
All we say is we need to fight against these things. The terrorism is not beyond borders, it's within our borders now. It's within our homes now, our streets. It's impacting us day and night. And if we do not stand against it, then we are accomplices of it. Then we are supporting it. End of the day, all these 300 people.
And we should call them out. Liberal MP Sukh Dhaliwal is a conspiracy theorist, an atrocity denier, and a terrible representative of Canadian people. Him and his supporters in Parliament and the Liberal Party NDP are fundamentally anti-Canadian with their pro-terrorist views, and we stand against them.
100%.
100%. And I'm actually quite proud of everyone today, because for 40 years there was too much silence. For 40 years, too many people shrugged their shoulders and said, oh, what does this have to do with me? Is it even Canadian? But I see us out in numbers today. It is a hot day. It is a day where we could be lounging at the beach, could be doing anything other than staying in the sun, but it's important that we are here. And we're here in numbers. There are more of us here this year than there have been in previous years. And remember last year? Who was there last year? The Khalistanis came. They tried to steal the event. They tried to stand over the victims and taunt them. And we did not let them. It was the unity of Jews and Hindus and Iranians and everyone else that pushed them back. So I say to all of Sukh Dhaliwal's sword-waving friends, where are you? Where are you? They are scared of you. You have shown that you actually have power. For 40 years, they have tricked you into thinking that you have no voice in this country, that you have no power, that no one will listen to you, that there's nothing you could do. But I think today, you have shown them that they are wrong. We are united. We are here in strength. And they can't intimidate us. They can't threaten us. They can't push us away. They're a paper tiger. Their hold over Canadian politics is simply because they've been unopposed for 40 years. Well, I have a message to them. You are now opposed. There is now a grassroots coalition of Canadians, and they have support in Parliament, and we say no to terrorism. We say no to extremism, and we say the real victims of the Air India bombing are the 331 innocent people who lost their lives that day, not the terrorists who planted the bombs. Okay? The terrorists are the villains, and we will make sure that justice is served one way or the other. So, I want to thank the organizers today. You have done an excellent job, and thank you everyone for coming up here, because you have shown strength.
Every year, this thing means a lot to us. Tandekarji, a crew member, on the same flight, she was on standby. If this thing would not happen, she would have got on the same flight that had happened. All 22 crew members, her colleagues, passed away. So these divisive forces, these extremists, they still exist today. So what we are doing here, what is our intention? Our intention is, by public education, we can avoid any more such tragedies. We hope soon this tragedy and related facts will be incorporated in school curriculum, so that such tragedy does not repeat. So that these divisive, separatist, extremist forces, the Khalistanis, they are not encouraged. Today what we see that these divisive forces are encouraged for dirty political gain. So we strongly condemn that. That is the reason we are doing this commemoration. Thank you all for coming on this hot day.
82 tragedy that took the lives of 331 people, among which 268 were Canadian, 86 children, including 6 infants, and 29 entire families were on that plane. It is the largest Canadian tragedy till date.